Hello, dear friends. Patrick Peace here. Today, covering chapter 3 in this book by Timothy Keller, The Reason for God. Just a quick, short video for you today. Chapter 3 is asking the question. The title is Christianity a straitjacket, or Christianity is a straitjacket? And it talks about the restrictions on Christianity, and the way it approaches the topic is it goes into the idea of the, once again, exclusivity of groups, different separate groups, and how they are have parameters that delineate between members and non-members. And he even addresses the topic of truth. And what is truth? He gives a quote from Foucault. Truth is a thing of this world. It's produced only by multiple forms of constraint, and that includes the regular effects of power. I don't agree with Foucault and much of what he says, but this thing about the relationship between truth and constraints within a society is quite interesting. He talks about that. And so on page 39, the topic, it's almost like a sub chapter, and the two paragraphs on page 39 are under the heading of community can't be completely inclusive. And it's a very, very powerful essay. I'd love to have a chance to read it in full to you at a later time, but I'm going to leave it for today. He goes on to say that imagine that there's, after that, he goes, imagine there's a local group and they have these particular values, and then somebody's values within that group changes, so they eventually end up getting kicked out of that group, and it applies to different types of, you can imagine the different type of group that it could apply to, all kinds of groups. And so I'm going to leave that section for now. It's excellent, thought-provoking essays within this chapter. And then on page 41, we reach a topic that says Christianity isn't culturally rigid, and talks about the way that Christianity appeals to people from multiple groups, different groups. And I'm going to skip ahead quickly to the section on page 45, and I'll just pull this little quote out from, it's actually from a historian by the name of Andrew Walls. He says, cultural diversity was built into the Christian faith in Acts 15, which declared that the new Gentile Christians didn't have to enter or follow Jewish culture. Hear that? The converts had to work out a Hellenistic way of being a Christian, so no one owns the Christian faith. There's no Christian culture per se, the way there is in an Islamic culture, for example, which you can recognize definitively from Pakistan to Tunisia to Morocco. They have a specific culture, whereas in Christianity, there is no specific Christian culture. The Jews were the first Christians, and they had they incorporated their Jewish traditions into their newfound belief in the Messiah, and it was a seamless integration for them. Whereas the Gentiles that became Christians, they were not compelled to conform to this new Christian culture. They said, you guys don't have to follow this particular tradition, and you can imagine what specific traditions are involved. But as long as you have faith in the Messiah, that allows you to enter into and have community and fellowship with other Christians and unity with other Christians. He goes on to explain that. And this coincides or parallels with what I have been addressing personally in my own life, the concept that Christianity is an individual pursuit. It's not a corporate pursuit. And that is why we see so much failure in the corporate, again, the word culture, in the corporate world, or the corporate culture of Christianity in Canada. They've adopted wokeism, and they've adopted the social gospel and a number of other things, and they've become completely inert and dead with respect to community topical events, obviously anything to do with political events. The Canadian Christian Church is inert. I know of 3 churches, one in Calgary, a biker church in Ottawa, and a local church here called Trinity Church, that do not follow that woke ideology, and they're not afraid to speak truth to power, All the rest, as far as I know, are dead. So if you know of any others that are not dead, I'd be happy to hear about them. But most, and when I mean dead, I don't mean dead in terms of sharing the gospel. I mean dead in terms of being relevant to the political landscape and the social landscape and the local community landscape and the local municipal council landscape and the local school board landscape. They are absolutely dead in those areas. But in other areas, of course, they continue to have bingo and potluck dinners and talking about the Good Samaritan and so on and so forth. So I hope that makes sense to you. It's an individual pursuit, and that's why your faith as an individual is so important and powerful as well. And next, to finish off the chapter, talking about the constraints of Christianity, once again, is the idea. He brings up this analogy of a fish, saying that if you want to give a fish total freedom, throw it out on the land and say, there you go, you're free, you can do whatever you want. But the constraint of having to live in water gives the fish life. I thought it was kind of a cute analogy, but anyway, the constraint within the Christian community is the constraint of love. And C.S. Lewis, on page 49, he quotes quite an eloquent comment, among other comments about love. Imagine tackling the concept of love and what it is and what love involves, right? He quotes this French novelist, François Sagan, and she talks about, I was as free as I wanted to be, but then I was obviously less free when I was in love with someone. And she talks and explains a little bit about that. Lewis says, love anything and your heart will certainly be wrong and possibly broken. And so the constraint for the Christian life is the constraint of love. And of course, it's loving Christ and loving other believers and loving those that are not the same as you are, even though they're not believers yet. And that is a constraint that ends up bringing profound levels of freedom in the long run. So rather being a straitjacket, the constraint of Christianity is the constraint, the compelling constraint of to love one another and to love God, to love Jesus. And that ends up resulting in this newfound freedom, which is better explained than I can give it justice in this short video. So a really, really excellent chapter. Chapter 3, addressing the question, is Christianity constraining, or is Christianity a straitjacket? And he covers a broad range of topics in there, from groups to individual pursuit to love. And his answer, of course, is that the constraint of love for the Christian brings profound victory, profound happiness, profound success in many different areas of life, mentally, socially, within a family, within a community of friends, within a community of strangers, for that matter. And so it's a good reminder to myself. I have a hard time loving people, as you can tell. I'm a pretty cranky old guy. And so it is a good reminder to realize that this is the only constraint that the Christian faith puts on an individual, or Christ put on an individual, was this, as he called it, a new law, or a new commandment, as he called it, that which is to love one another. So I love you very much. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to spend time with people you love. And it's this book is really having a good influence on my mind, my psyche, my spirit. I'm excited about it. And I've only reached the 3rd chapter. So I hope to talk to you again real soon. God bless you. Have yourself a wonderful day. I hope that wherever you are, you're doing well, you're prospering. And we'll talk to you again real soon, okay? Thanks a lot for watching. Bye for now.